Ladies and gentlemen, you wake up every morning, brush your teeth, eat your food, walk, talk, work, and you go about telling the whole world what you do. But tell me why somewhere deep inside there is a need to be recognized, a need to be validated, a need to be seen. But let me ask you, if a tree stood tall only because the world saw it, do you think it would ever grow? The problem is we have become too focused on telling rather than being. If you are truly committed to something, if what you do really means something, you will not have to announce it. The fragrance of a flower does not go around advertising itself, it just spreads. If you keep telling the world what you do, you are spending more time in explaining rather than evolving. Instead of declaring, just do. Instead of seeking approval, become so undeniable that no one can ignore. If you walk with absolute clarity and intensity, your work will roar louder than any words you can speak. The more you talk about what you do, the more you dilute its power. A lion does not have to declare it is a lion, the jungle knows. The sun does not have to tell the world it is shining, you feel its warmth. So if you truly want to make an impact, stop talking about it and start living it. Your life is not meant to be a presentation, it is meant to be an experience. So do not waste time telling people what you do. Instead, do it in such a way that the whole world feels it without a single word spoken. One of the greatest mistakes people make is constantly talking about what they do. They feel an urge to announce their ambitions, their plans, their every step, as if the world needs to hear it before anything meaningful happens. But this is precisely where the energy of action is lost. When you speak too much about what you are going to do, you create an illusion of accomplishment without actually taking a single step. Words become a substitute for effort, and slowly you start believing that talking is the same as doing. It is not. Talking is easy, doing requires something more. Look at how nature functions. A river does not stop to tell the rocks how it will carve through them. It simply flows. A tree does not send invitations for people to witness its growth. It grows silently, and one day the whole world notices its shade. But human beings, in their restlessness, feel the need to declare their every movement, as if speaking about it gives it more weight. The truth is, the more you talk, the less you are doing. Energy that should have been directed toward action gets dissipated in words. Why do people feel this need to announce what they are doing? It comes from a deep-rooted insecurity. They seek approval, recognition and validation from the outside world. But understand this, if you need to tell people what you do in order to feel significant, it means that what you do has not yet become powerful enough to stand on its own. When something is truly profound, it does not require an introduction. Imagine a candle trying to convince the world that it gives light. Does it need to? The moment it is lit, the darkness disappears, no explanation required. Every time you speak about what you will do, you create unnecessary expectations not just from others but from yourself. You start feeling pressure to live up to the words you have spoken, rather than focusing on the process itself. This pressure does not come from a natural drive but from a social burden. You are no longer doing it because it matters to you, you are doing it because you feel the need to prove yourself. And anything done for the sake of proving rather than evolving will never reach its full potential. Silence is a powerful force. Those who do not talk much about what they do carry an air of mystery and depth. Their actions unfold like a story that no one saw coming, and that is what makes them impactful. When you do something without prior announcement, you leave no room for unnecessary doubts, criticisms or distractions. You simply act and the results speak for themselves. It is only when people see the impact of what you have done that they will turn round and ask, "Who did this?" And even then, the one who truly understands does not need to claim credit. Consider the greatest minds and most impactful beings in history. They were not busy making declarations about their greatness, they were immersed in what they did. The Buddha did not go around telling people that he was enlightened, his very presence radiated it. The greatest warriors do not boast about their strength, the battlefield reveals it. The most profound thinkers do not need to announce their wisdom, it is felt in their silence. This is the nature of true power. It does not need advertisement, so if you truly want to achieve something meaningful, stop talking and start doing. Let your work be your voice. Let your action be the proof. If what you do has real depth, people will notice without you having to say a word. But if you keep talking about it before it even happens, it loses its momentum, its strength and its purpose. When you stop announcing and start acting, you move in a way that is unstoppable. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to seek approval. A child looks up to their parents, craving a smile or a nod of encouragement. A student waits for a teacher's praise to feel intelligent. An employee constantly wonders if their boss has noticed their hard work. This need for validation follows us like a shadow, dictating how we think, act and even dream. But the problem is, when you seek approval, you give away your power. You become dependent on the opinions of others, allowing their perceptions to shape your reality. And when your sense of self is built on external validation, you will forever remain vulnerable, constantly adjusting, constantly doubting, never truly free. When you need people to approve of what you do, you stop doing things for the right reasons. Your actions become less about the work itself and more about how it will be perceived. Imagine an artist who only paints to be praised. Their brush will never move with true freedom because their mind is too occupied with thoughts like, will they like this? Will they appreciate my effort? The purity of creation is lost. The same applies to every aspect of life. The moment you start focusing on how the world sees you, you disconnect from the very essence of what you are doing. If you observe closely, you will see that validation is a never-ending cycle. Today, someone praises you and you feel elated. Tomorrow, the same person is indifferent and suddenly you feel uncertain. The highs and lows of external approval become an emotional roller coaster that you cannot control. The truth is, no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to satisfy everyone. One person may admire you, while another may criticize you for the same thing. If you base your self-worth on their opinions, you will constantly be tossed around like a leaf in the wind, never finding stability. Look at the greatest beings who have walked this earth. Were they waiting for applause? No. They did what they had to do, irrespective of whether the world understood them or not. When Galileo said the earth revolved around the sun, the world ridiculed him. When the Buddha walked his path, many opposed him. When great scientists, artists and thinkers introduced new ideas, society resisted, but they did not stop. They were not working for validation, they were working because something within them burned too intensely to be ignored. And that is the only way to truly create something of value. The need for approval often disguises itself as ambition. People say, I want to be recognized for my work, or I want to make an impact. But impact is not something you create by seeking recognition, it is something that happens when you become deeply immersed in what you do. A river does not carve mountains by asking the world to notice its flow. It simply moves with absolute determination and, over time, the world cannot ignore the valleys it has created. The same principle applies to life. The more you focus on external recognition, the more you weaken your own flow. There is a simple way to know whether you are working for validation or for true purpose. Ask yourself, if no one ever knew what I was doing, would I still do it? If the answer is no, then what you are chasing is not your passion, but the illusion of recognition. The most powerful work happens in silence, away from the need for approval. It is done by those who are so committed to their craft, their vision and their journey that even if the entire world were blind, they would still continue. That is the kind of intensity that creates real impact. So do not waste time seeking approval. Do not let the world's opinions dictate your actions. If you are deeply involved in what you do, if it truly matters to you, recognition will come as a byproduct, not because you sought it, but because what you created was undeniable. The world does not validate those who chase approval, it remembers those who dared to act without needing it. If you observe nature, you will see that it functions effortlessly without the need for recognition or validation. A tree does not stand tall because people admire it, it grows because that is its nature. The sun does not shine brighter when someone praises its warmth, it simply radiates because that is what it does. The rivers, the mountains, the sky, they do not seek attention, yet their presence is undeniable. There is a profound intelligence in this way of being, an intelligence that human beings have largely forgotten. We have become so entangled in the need to be seen, acknowledged and appreciated that we have lost the ability to simply be. When you look at a flower, does it try to impress you? No. It does not adjust its colors based on who is watching. It does not shrink when ignored or bloom more brightly when admired. It simply unfolds in its own time, following its own rhythm, and yet people are drawn to it. Why? Because something that exists in absolute authenticity carries an undeniable presence. When you stop trying to be noticed, when you let go of the need to prove yourself, your natural essence begins to shine, just like the flower. The problem with human beings is that we constantly measure our worth through the eyes of others. If people approve of what we do, we feel good. If they do not, we start questioning ourselves. But imagine if the ocean had to ask permission before its waves touched the shore. Imagine if the wind hesitated before blowing across the land. Would anything in nature function the way it does? The very reason nature is so powerful is because it does not seek permission. It simply is. This is the secret to true strength, not needing validation, not needing to explain, just being. Many people spend their lives trying to convince others of their worth. They declare their ambitions, their struggles, their achievements, hoping that the world will acknowledge them. But in nature, worth is not something that is declared, it is something that is demonstrated. A lion does not need to announce that it is the king of the jungle, its presence is enough. A mountain does not proclaim its greatness, it simply stands, unwavering and immovable. When you are deeply rooted in what you do, when you are committed without the need for applause, your presence alone will make an impact. Nature also teaches us patience. A seed does not sprout into a tree overnight. It takes time, seasons of growth, stillness, struggle and transformation. If the seed were impatient, if it constantly worried about whether people would appreciate its growth, it would never reach its full potential, but it does not concern itself with such things. It simply grows, knowing that when the time is right, it will bear fruit. This is how life works. If you focus on the process rather than the outcome, if you are patient with your own journey, success becomes inevitable. Another lesson we can learn from nature is that everything has its own unique path. No two trees grow in the same way. No two rivers carve the same path to the ocean. Yet, each one finds its way, fulfilling its purpose in its own time. Human beings, however, have forgotten this truth. We compare ourselves endlessly. We look at others and think, they are ahead, I am behind. But nature does not function this way. A flower that blooms in spring does not compete with one that blooms in autumn. Each unfolds at the perfect time. If you stop worrying about where you stand in relation to others, you will begin to move with the same natural ease. So, if you ever feel lost, if you ever question your path, just look at nature. It does not rush, yet everything is accomplished. It does not seek approval, yet it is admired. It does not ask for permission, yet it thrives. The same wisdom exists within you. You do not need to tell the world what you are doing. You do not need to prove your worth. Just like nature, if you focus on being, on doing, on growing, everything else will fall into place. In today's world, people are obsessed with making an impression. They think if they talk enough, explain enough, or promote themselves enough, they will be noticed, respected, and remembered. But true impact is never created by loud words or grand declarations. It is created by presence. Have you ever been in a room where someone walked in and without saying a word, everyone noticed? There was no introduction, no announcement, yet something about them commanded attention. This is the power of presence, and it cannot be faked. It is not built on words, but on the depth of one's being. People assume that in order to be impactful, they must constantly speak about their work, their dreams, and their achievements. But if what you do has real substance, it will speak for itself. A candle does not have to declare that it gives light, you simply see it. The moon does not advertise its beauty, you just feel its presence in the night sky. In the same way, if your work, your passion, and your very way of being have real depth, you will not need to convince anyone of your worth. They will sense it. The problem is, most people are too focused on being seen rather than becoming something of true value. Instead of developing real capability, they are caught up in the illusion of visibility. They think success is about getting noticed, but that is not true. Success is about being so deeply rooted in what you do that people cannot ignore you, not because you are shouting for attention, but because what you have built is undeniable. A tree does not chase people to admire it, it simply grows and one day people find shade beneath it. If you want to make a real impact, forget about trying to impress people with words. Focus on developing depth within yourself. A shallow stream makes a lot of noise as it flows over rocks, but the deep ocean is silent and powerful. The more you talk, the more you reveal that you are still trying to prove something. But when you truly become something, words are unnecessary. People will feel it in your presence, in your actions, in the way you move through life. Presence is built through inner work, not outward projection. If you are constantly seeking attention, constantly explaining yourself, it means you are still uncertain within. But when you are clear, when you have truly mastered something, you do not need to explain. Look at the greatest beings in history. Did they go around announcing their greatness? No, their impact was a result of their being, not their talking. Their very existence transformed those around them, not because they sought recognition, but because they embodied something real. Even in personal relationships, you will notice this. The people who talk the most about how much they care are often the ones whose actions do not match their words. But the ones who truly care, you feel it. They do not have to declare it because it is evident in everything they do. This is the difference between noise and presence. Noise demands attention, presence naturally commands it. If you want to leave a lasting impact, do not waste energy on convincing others. Invest that energy in deepening yourself. A lion does not have to announce that it is a lion. It does not need to prove its strength, it simply exists and the jungle knows. In the same way, do not tell people what you are doing. Become so powerful in your actions, so steady in your purpose, so unwavering in your path, that your presence alone speaks for you. That is real impact. In today's world, people spend more time talking about what they want to do than actually doing it. Social media is filled with announcements, people declaring their goals, their future plans and their ambitions, as if saying it out loud will make it real. But the truth is, every time you speak about something you have not yet done, you are leaking energy. You are using the force that should be driving your actions to create an illusion of progress. Instead of directing your focus inward, you are scattering it outward, and in this process, you lose the intensity needed to make things happen. Have you ever noticed that the people who constantly talk about what they are going to achieve rarely achieve much? It is not because they lack talent or capability, but because they waste their energy in unnecessary declarations. When you talk too much about your plans, your mind gets a false sense of accomplishment. You start feeling as if you have already moved forward simply because you have spoken about it. But nothing has changed in reality. The real work is still undone, and the energy that should have fueled it has already been spent in words. Nature is a great example of this principle. A seed does not shout to the world that it will one day become a mighty tree. It simply puts all its energy into growing quietly, steadily, without distraction. And one day, before anyone even realizes, it has become something magnificent. But imagine if a seed spent all its time announcing, "I will grow, I will become a tree, you just wait and see." Would it still have the strength to push through the soil, to withstand storms, to reach for the sun? No. It would have wasted its strength in unnecessary declarations. When you commit to something, let your energy be focused entirely on the process, not on telling others about it. This is not about secrecy, it is about conserving power. Every great achievement requires an immense amount of focused energy. When you start a fire, you do not blow air in all directions. You focus the airflow in one place to keep the flame alive. In the same way, if you want to accomplish something meaningful, you must direct all your energy toward the action itself, not toward talking about it. People often think that announcing their goals will hold them accountable, that once they tell others they will be more motivated to follow through, but in reality it often does the opposite. When you tell people what you are planning, they will have opinions. Some will encourage you, some will doubt you, and some will discourage you. Now, instead of focusing on your work, you are caught in a web of reactions. You start adjusting, defending, or over-explaining your plans, and before you know it, the momentum is lost. The time you should have spent taking action is now spent responding to unnecessary noise. If you observe the truly successful people, you will see that they do not talk much about what they are going to do, they simply do it. By the time the world notices, it is already done. They do not waste energy in convincing others, they use that energy to move forward. The best way to prove yourself is not through words, but through results. When your actions speak for you, there is nothing left to explain. The world recognizes true effort, not empty declarations. So if you want to create something valuable, protect your energy. Do not scatter it in unnecessary conversations, do not seek validation, do not waste time explaining yourself. Focus entirely on the work and let the results be your voice. When you dedicate yourself fully to action, without distraction, without the need to announce, you move with a force that is unstoppable. In today's world, people have become addicted to noise. They believe that if they are not constantly talking, posting or sharing their thoughts, they will be forgotten. But if you observe life carefully, you will see that silence is far more powerful than noise. In silence, things grow, things transform, things become strong. A seed does not shout while breaking through the soil, it rises silently. A tree does not announce when it bears fruit, it simply does. The most powerful things in existence function without unnecessary noise. Noise is a form of distraction. People who are constantly speaking about what they do, who they are, and what they want to achieve are often seeking validation rather than actually working toward their goals. When you are deeply involved in something, you do not have time for unnecessary words. A warrior does not stop in the middle of battle to announce his strength, he simply fights. A wise person does not waste energy proving their wisdom, they simply live by it. The more you talk about something, the more you dilute its impact. True strength does not need to be declared, it is felt. Look at the ocean. Its surface may have waves crashing, making noise, creating movement, but if you go deep, there is absolute stillness. That stillness is where the real power lies. The same is true for human beings. Those who are constantly speaking, constantly trying to prove themselves are like the surface waves, restless and scattered, but those who have cultivated depth within themselves are like the deep ocean, calm, steady, and immensely powerful. When you operate from this depth, your actions carry a force that no amount of words can match. Silence is not just about the absence of words, it is about presence. When you speak less, you observe more. When you are silent, you listen, not just to others, but to yourself. In silence, you gain clarity, focus, and understanding. But when you are always talking, always explaining, your energy is scattered. It becomes difficult to see things clearly because you are too busy trying to be heard. The most impactful people in the world are often the ones who speak the least. When they do speak, every word carries weight because it comes from a place of depth and certainty. There is an old saying, an empty vessel makes the most noise. This is not an insult, but a simple truth of nature. When something is hollow, it echoes. When something is full, it is heavy, steady, and quiet. A person who constantly needs to talk about what they are doing is often unsure of themselves. But a person who is deeply involved in their work does not feel the need to announce it. Their presence, their actions, and their results speak for them. If you want to be truly strong, cultivate silence within yourself. Let your work be your voice. Silence also protects your energy. Every time you speak unnecessarily, you are giving away a part of yourself. When you discuss your plans too much, you expose them to doubts, criticisms, and distractions. Influence. Many great things fail before they even begin, simply because they were spoken about too soon. But when you keep something within, when you nurture it in silence, it grows undisturbed. It gains strength, it builds momentum, and when it finally emerges, it is unstoppable. So if you want to create something meaningful, if you want to build real strength within yourself, embrace silence. Do not waste time explaining, do not waste energy proving, simply do. Focus on action, focus on depth, and let the results speak for you. Those who move in silence, those who work without the need for constant acknowledgement are the ones who ultimately leave the greatest impact. Human nature is such that the more you reveal, the less people value it. But when you hold back, when you do not constantly announce what you are doing, people begin to wonder. Curiosity arises in silence, not in noise. When you are always explaining yourself, always updating others on your progress, they feel they already know everything about you. There is no mystery, no intrigue. But when you hold back, when you allow your actions to unfold without prior declaration, people naturally become interested. Have you ever noticed how a book with a suspenseful plot keeps you turning the pages? If everything were revealed in the first chapter, would you continue reading? Of course not. In the same way, when you constantly share your plans, your dreams and your efforts, there is no reason for anyone to take further interest. They assume they already know what is happening. But when you remain silent, when you let your actions unfold naturally, people pay closer attention. They start to wonder, what is this person up to? And when they do see results, they are far more impressed than they would have been if you had told them all along. This is why some of the most impactful people do not talk much about what they are doing. They work in silence and then one day the world sees what they have built. Their success appears sudden, unexpected, almost magical, but in reality it was not sudden at all. It was the result of focused, silent effort over time. Because they did not waste energy on unnecessary words, they had more strength to channel into their actions. And because they did not reveal too much too soon, people remained interested. Look at history. The individuals who truly shaped the world were not the ones who constantly spoke about their plans. They were the ones who acted. They allowed their work to speak for itself. They did not seek validation at every step, nor did they feel the need to explain their every move. They understood that silence creates curiosity, and curiosity creates attention. When people are curious, they observe more closely, and when they observe, they are more likely to be influenced by what they see. Even in personal relationships, you will notice this. If you are always telling people what you feel, what you plan and what you intend to do, they stop listening. But if you remain a little reserved, if you allow your actions to express more than your words, people take you more seriously, they pay attention because they do not know what to expect next. This is why a person who speaks less often commands more respect when they do speak. Their words carry weight because they are not thrown around carelessly. Silence also protects your power. When people do not know everything about you, they cannot interfere. They cannot judge, manipulate or discourage you. When you keep things to yourself, you remain in control. You decide what to reveal and when to reveal it. This gives you an advantage because you are not influenced by external noise. Your energy remains focused on your own journey rather than being scattered by unnecessary opinions. So, if you want to maintain curiosity, if you want people to take you seriously, practice restraint. Do not reveal everything. Do not rush to announce your next step. Allow space for people to wonder. When you work in silence, when you let results speak instead of words, you naturally command attention. And when people become curious, they start watching, they start listening, and that is when your impact truly begins. The world does not need more noise, it needs more substance. It is easy to talk, easy to declare, easy to seek attention, but real strength lies in restraint. When you hold back your words and focus entirely on your actions, you build something unshakable. You conserve your energy, you sharpen your focus, and you create a presence that is undeniable. If what you do is truly valuable, people will notice, whether you announce it or not. If your work has depth, it will speak louder than any words ever could. Instead of spending your time convincing others of what you are capable of, spend that time becoming capable. Instead of trying to impress people with declarations, impress yourself with results. A lion does not need to roar all the time to prove its strength. A river does not need to explain its flow. The most powerful forces in nature do not waste energy in noise. They simply are. If you want to move through life with impact, with influence and with true power, then embrace silence. Let your actions do the talking. Let your presence create the impact, and when the world finally takes notice, it will not be because of what you said, it will be because of what you became.